Hey guys, tonight we will hear a dramatic story titled Disgusting Hygiene Habits of Egyptian Royal Women. Boring history for sleep. And let me warn you, you will never imagine that this terrible thing could happen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're still awake by the end, drop a comment with your location and local time. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're lying still, wrapped in the cool shadow of a towering palm tree, the sun long since dipped behind the distant horizon. The Nile hums gently nearby, the sound like a sleeping beast breathing under the earth. You are not a peasant or a servant tonight. No. Tonight, you are someone of great importance, handmaiden to the most peculiar and powerful woman in all of Thebes. Her name is Princess Meritptah. She is young but already feared, the daughter of Pharaoh, born to privilege, wrapped in linen and lavished in gold. But there are whispers, you've heard them. Whispers that speak of foulness and strange rituals, things that no one dares say aloud. It is your job to serve her, to bathe her, to anoint her skin, and to never ever gasp at the things you see. Tonight is the night of purification. You follow the soft glow of oil lamps through the sandstone corridors of the palace, passing guards who do not meet your eye. The thick perfume of kaifi sweet with honey and raisins clings to the air, but beneath it something else lurks. A musk. Rot. The smell of flesh that's been washed too many times, or maybe not at all. When you enter her chamber, she is lying on a bed of imported leopard skins, draped in nothing but jewelry. She does not rise to greet you. She never does. Beside her stands Sateh, the chief attendant. Older than the rest, her face lined like the banks of the Nile during dry season. She holds a ceramic bowl filled with what looks like a paste of ash and milk. This is the beginning, the sacred cleanse. But this cleanse is not what it seems. Princess Meritptah rarely bathes with water. She says it is for religious reasons that the gods speak through oils and incense, not through the cold touch of the river. But you've seen the truth, she fears water. Terribly. Ever since the incident with her brother years ago, whispers again, always whispers. She has refused to be immersed in anything but oil and crushed lotus petals. Even then, her skin peels in strange patches. You've noticed it under her arms, behind her knees. Sateh begins the process by smearing the ash paste beneath the princess's arms. You do the same for her feet, watching as the grayish goop cakes around the edges of her toes. Supposedly, this mixture purifies the body and drives away the invisible demons of disease. But the smell is something else. Not holy, not fresh, a sort of sourness that stings the back of your throat. She will be married soon, Sateh mutters to you under her breath. The priests have chosen her a husband. You don't answer. You keep rubbing. This husband, High Priest Ahmose, is not a man of kindness. He is old, cruel, and known for his obsessions with chastity and purity. And he will expect things, clean things, perfect things. But Princess Meritptah is anything but perfect. Beneath the layers of paint and crushed carmine, her skin is a battlefield, cracked, inflamed, scabbed from constant shaving with bronze razors that grow dull far too quickly. You remember last week when you accidentally spilled warm wax on her stomach instead of her leg. She screamed for an hour and made you sleep outside the palace walls. And yet it is your job to keep her beautiful. Tonight, the paste is replaced with perfumed resin. Satay lifts her arms, and you notice the dark smudges where sweat has dried over unwashed skin. Resin is melted in a clay pot and brushed onto her underarms with a feather. It hardens quickly, meant to mask the smell of rot and body odor, something Egyptian nobility never speak of, but you all know it exists. The irony is not lost on you. The princess has dozens of alabaster jars filled with imported scents from Punt and Byblos, yet she refuses to bathe. Her linens are soiled with the stink of her own body, and when you change them at night, you find crusts of yellow around the seams. Still, no one speaks of it. Not even Taheret, her younger cousin, who visits the chamber, often bringing fig cakes and gossip. Taheret is strange, curious. She once asked you whether the princess smelled worse during new moons or full moons. You laughed, thinking it a joke, but she was serious. And now in the dim lamplight, she appears again, barefoot, and carrying a folded cloth. Her coal-lined eyes flick to you, then to the princess. I brought her the linen, Taheret says, the one stitched with blue thread. Satay nods. Leave it by the mirror. You notice how Taheret wrinkles her nose just slightly when she approaches the bed, but she does not comment. No one does. As the night deepens, the ritual continues. Princess Meritipta lies silent, letting you apply more oils, more powders, more perfume. You feel like you're embalming a living corpse, covering the decay with sweetness. And just when you think it's over, she opens her eyes. There's something crawling, she says. Under my hair, you freeze. You've seen her scalp, scratched raw, covered in white flakes and tiny bites. The palace physicians say it's from the wigs, the weight of them, the heat. But there are rumors of lice, of infections that rot the skin under the gold-threaded hairpieces. Satay motions you forward. You take the ivory comb, and slowly trembling, you begin to part her hair. What you find beneath is not for the faint-hearted. But you do not scream. You do not flinch. You simply comb. Because that is what you were trained to do. And in the silence under the hum of the oil lamps, under the weight of centuries of rot and perfume, you wonder what it truly means. The lice do not scatter when the comb touches the roots of her hair. They move slowly, lazily, as if they know they belong here. And they do. You see their tiny white eggs clinging to the base of each strand, like grains of sand buried beneath the desert dunes. You say nothing. Princess Meritipta breathes deeply, her chest rising and falling in the rhythm of someone who believes herself beautiful. You think of her mother, Queen Tia, long dead now, who was once so meticulous about bathing that she had her servants bring water straight from the Nile, boiled 3 times, cooled with lotus petals, and passed through linen cloth before she would let it touch her skin. But Meritipta is not her mother. She loathes the Nile. You gently scrape the teeth of the ivory comb against her scalp. The scratching sound is oddly soothing, like sand sliding across stone. You have grown used to it, the tiny welts, the flakes of skin, the faint scent of fermented oil, and something fouler beneath it. Her hair has not been washed in days, perhaps weeks. No water, no vinegar rinse, not even natron to dry the oils. Only heavy ointments, crushed frankincense, and black resin worked into the scalp like ritual. And that ritual is sacred. Disgusting, yes, but sacred. Taheret watches you from the mirror. She does not sit, she never does when the princess is being cleansed. Instead, she leans against the wall with a scrap of dried pomegranate between her fingers, chewing slowly, pretending not to notice the lice you flick from the comb into a folded scrap of cloth. You burn them later, always. You were told to. Once you forgot. They crawled into your sleeping mat. You never forgot again. Satay returns with a bowl of warmed goose fat, thick and slick, mixed with palm oil and clove. It is to be massaged into the princess's scalp. The fat coats the hair and suffocates the insects, or so they say. You're never sure it works, but the smell of clove is strong enough to overpower the rot. For now. She is being watched, Satay says under her breath. You look up sharply. By whom? The priests, the healers. Even the cooks whisper her name now. You glance at Meripta. Her eyes are closed again, lips parted in faint pleasure. She loves being touched, adored, worshipped. But you've seen the red lines behind her ears, the sores where the gold of her earrings rubs against broken skin. Her body is betraying her slowly, quietly. Even the flies know Taharet mutters. And they do. They buzz constantly around the chamber, drawn by the mixture of honeyed resin and something far more primal. One lands on the princess's upper lip. She doesn't swat it away. You do. Later you are summoned to prepare the royal sanitary cloths. These are not for the faint of heart. Princess Meritepta refuses reeds. She says they itch. She refuses old rags. She says they smell. Instead, you are to prepare strips of imported linen soaked in cinnamon oil and beeswax, then dried until stiff. These are inserted and removed daily, though often you're the one doing both. If the wax is too warm, it melts. If it's too cold, it cracks. And if either happens inside her, the screams echo through the entire west wing of the palace. Tonight, the cloth is brittle. You warm it slightly between your hands and hope. There is no formal training for this, no manual. Only what you've been taught by whispers and curses. The first time you performed this duty, your fingers shook so badly that Satay had to slap your wrist to keep you steady. Now it's almost routine. But that doesn't make it clean. You think of the damp chamber pots kept in the princess's private latrine, rarely emptied, often swarming. You think of how the stench clings to the cloth she wraps around her waist, how no amount of incense masks it completely. Yet still she is royalty. She is divine. You bow before her, your knees sore from the rough floor tiles. When the ritual is complete, you step back. Princess Meritipta finally speaks. I want my painted mask, she says softly, her voice curling like smoke. Satay nods. From a sealed case of cedarwood, she lifts the ceremonial mask, carved into a gentle smile, gilded inlaid with lapis around the eyes. It is not for funerals, as you once thought. It is for dreams. The princess wears it when she sleeps. She believes it protects her beauty from demons. But beneath the mask, you've seen the crust along her lips. The lines of dried saliva mixed with black coal. When she removes the mask in the morning, it peels skin with it. Still, she wears it. Every night. Tonight is no different. The mask is placed over her face. Satay tightens the straps. The room grows still. You begin cleaning up the bowls, the oils, the lice cloth, the ruined comb. Taharet helps you surprisingly. She hands you the linen strips without being asked. She looks tired. She's rotting, she whispers. You pause. You mustn't say that. I only say what is true. Look at her skin, the gums, the smell. Taharet's voice trembles. She has a disease. You glance toward the bed. Mereteptah lies motionless, a golden mask where her face should be. She thinks the gods will cleanse her, Taharet says. And what if they don't? Silence stretches between you. Then footsteps. Someone is approaching. You freeze. A new figure steps into the doorway. Not a guard. Not a priest. It is Nefertiri, the princess's older half-sister, the one no one speaks of, exiled to the garden quarters. She shouldn't be here, but she is. And she's smiling, still playing with perfumes and flies. I see, she says coldly. Taharet stiffens. Sateh turns her back. You don't speak. You kneel again. Lower your head. Because Nefertiri knows things. Terrible things. And as the oil lamp flickers and the smell of decay clings to your hair, you realize this is only the beginning. You keep your eyes down. You've learned not to meet Nefertiri's gaze. Her voice is like water beneath the sand, soft but dangerous. She steps fully into the chamber now, her sandals whispering against the tiles. There is no announcement, no herald. She never needs one. Nefertiri is not like Mereteptah. She bathes. She scrubs her skin with natron and lemon balm. Her breath smells of cardamom seeds, and her hair is combed until it gleams like polished obsidian. But her cleanliness comes with cruelty. She leans over the bed, gazing at her sleeping half-sister. The golden mask reflects her face back in distorted curves. Still hiding behind this thing, Nefertiri murmurs, brushing a finger across the edge of the mask. Afraid your own skin might turn to dust if the gods look upon it. You remain motionless. Leave us, she says sharply. Sateh doesn't budge. Taharet stares. You hesitate. I said leave. But the voice doesn't come from Nefertiri this time. It comes from beneath the mask. Princess Mereteptah's voice is barely audible, like wind between the papyrus reeds. But it is unmistakable. I did not summon you, Nefertiri. The older sister straightens. Her face hardens like limestone baking in the sun. You rarely summon anything these days, unless it's to clean your sores. Sateh finally steps forward. My lady Nefertiri, please. It is late. I am aware of the time, Sateh. Her eyes flick to you, and I see your servants still wipe her filth for her. Your stomach twists, but you say nothing. Mereteptah lifts the mask, slowly. The skin underneath is pale and moist, pressed by the golden mold. Bits of dried gum cling to her lips. I heard you brought goats into the garden again, she says to Nefertiri. Better goats than rats, her sister replies. There's a long pause, one of those silences that feels too loud. You feel Taharet shift behind you. Sateh's jaw tightens. Then the princess speaks again. You're jealous. Nefertiri laughs. A hollow, sharp sound. Of what your oozing scalp, your rotting gums, or your divine stench. You clench your jaw. Too far. Even Taharet looks stunned. But Mereteptah doesn't flinch. I'm still the chosen daughter. The priests favor me. And the maggots, Nefertiri whispers. Sateh gasps. You freeze. But it's true. You've seen them. The tiny white threads at the edge of her thigh, where the skin never fully closes, where the rot clings and refuses to heal. She doesn't feel them anymore, or pretends not to. Nefertiti's voice lowers. Your body is decaying before your own coronation, and yet they call you blessed. I am Meretipta, says her voice flat. Then why do you smell like a corpse? Silence again. You think of the hours spent preparing her, coating her skin in honey and resin, watering perfumes thick as paint. And still the scent returns. The staleness beneath her arms, the way her thighs stick together after only an hour in bed. Nefertiti turns to go. Keep pretending, she mutters. It's all you've ever been good at. And then she's gone. No one breathes. You glance at the princess. Her eyes are open, but they stare through the wall as if Nefertiti's words have peeled something inside her. Fetch the priest, she whispers. Now. Sata obeys immediately. She leaves through the side door, her robe swaying, and you're left alone with the princess and Taheret. I want the blood ritual, Meretipta says. You blink. The menstrual offering. No, she says sharply. The other one. You freeze. You've only heard of it once. A dark rite from Abydos, involving goat's blood, crushed myrrh, and something else. A type of incense forbidden in the inner temple. It's said to cleanse the womb of unholy disease. But it is also said to draw out madness. Taheret swallows. That ritual is not approved. Meretipta's gaze cuts to her. Do I need approval? She is royalty, divine lineage. Her body is considered sacred even as it rots, even as infection festers beneath her nails and pus leaks from the crease behind her ears. No, you say quietly. You do not. Then prepare it. Taheret looks at you in alarm. You know how you nod. You were taught by an old healer once deep in the back halls of the mortuary chambers. She showed you the mix of powders and resins. She whispered what must be said before it is lit. She warned you never to let it burn too long. I'll gather what we need you say. Meretipta lies back again, this time without her mask. Her breathing is shallow. You see the line of sores running along her jawline now, and something else, something dark, leaking slowly from the inner corner of her eye. You leave the chamber with Taheret. You walk in silence until you reach the storage room. She speaks first. You know this won't cure her. No. It could make her worse. I know. Then why do it? And you meet her eyes. Because she's afraid, and no one will tell her the truth. Taheret bites her lip, then hands you the wooden box of crushed myrrh. Back in the chamber, Meretipta lies with a cloth draped over her stomach. You light the censer, sprinkle the mixture. The smoke rises thick and oily with a sweetness that quickly turns bitter. The princess breathes it in and begins to shake, not violently, but enough to rattle the oil lamp beside her bed. You see goosebumps rise on her arms. Her lips move. She's whispering something, over and over. You lean in. They're inside me. You freeze. Taheret steps forward. What did she say? But before you can answer, Meretipta lets out a slow, low sound, a groan that turns to a hum, then to a kind of moaning chant. You've heard this before. Not from her, but from the dying. The priest must come now. You rush for Sata. As you open the door, you catch a final glimpse of her eyes rolled back, tongue twitching at the corner of her mouth. skin glistening with a sickly sheen of sweat and perfume, and that awful cloying scent of decay thick enough to taste. The blood ritual has begun, but you have no idea what it will summon. Sate meets you halfway down the corridor, breathless, clutching the folds of her linen robe with one hand and a copper bell in the other. Her eyes are wide, not with surprise, but recognition. She has seen this before. She did it, didn't she? She says. You nod. The incense is already burning. Without a word, Sate turns and leads you back, ringing the bell once. A dry, hollow sound that echoes through the stone hall. The priest arrives swiftly. You don't know how. You didn't see anyone call for him. But that is the way with High Priest Amos. He arrives when the shadows deepen, when the air thickens with rot and desperation. He does not greet you or Sate or Taheret. He walks straight into the chamber, face hidden beneath his hood, his feet silent on the tile. The scent hits him immediately. You see it in the way he flinches. The air is hot now, choked with the burnt sweetness of blood, myrrh, and the underlying stink of human sweat and spoiled resin. It clings to the lungs like smoke from a funeral pyre. Princess Meritipta is still chanting. The words are slurred, her voice cracking like dry papyrus. Amos approaches the bed. Child of Ra, he says, what have you summoned? Her eyes flutter open, milky, distant. Her lips curl into something not quite a smile. They're feeding. The priest recoils slightly, but he recovers. He gestures for Sate to close the door. You and Taheret remain frozen in the corner. You've never seen him this close before. His fingers are ink-stained, his face pocked and tight like it's been scrubbed too many times. Yet he carries himself like a man who owns the breath of everyone in the room. He kneels beside her. You've let yourself be opened, he says. You've invited them through the skin. Meritipta laughs low and gurgling. They're already here. Amose sniffs the air again. Then he reaches into his robe and draws out a bundle of cloth, dark, damp, tied with flax string. He unties it slowly, revealing something that makes your stomach lurch. A strip of soaked linen stained black with dried blood. He lays it across her chest like an offering. This was taken from the crypts of Imhotep, he mutters. It has been used before. For healing. And for banishment. The princess shudders when it touches her skin. Her chanting stops. For a moment the room is still. Then you see it. A thin line of yellow-green pus oozing from beneath her left armpit, seeping around the cloth. The smell worsens sour and sweet at once like overripe dates left in the sun. You gag silently. Taheret covers her mouth. The priest dips his fingers in a jar of red ochre and begins tracing symbols along her collarbones. Protective signs, wards. You've seen them on tombs, never on the living. Meritptah moans again. She's infected. Taheret whispers to you. That smell, I've smelled it in the city, at the sick houses. You shake your head. Don't say that. If it's true, she'll rot from the inside. The priest seems to hear her. He glances over his shoulder. You think this is disease, Taheret? It doesn't respond. This is not a sickness of the body, Amose hisses. This is a curse. He stands abruptly and points at you. Fetch the honeyed salts and natron basin. We must purge her sweat. You run. In the cleansing chamber, you pour white natron crystals into a bronze bowl and mix in thick honey. The result is a sticky, coarse paste, used rarely only when the skin is thought to be spiritually impure. You carry it back, hands shaking. When you return, the princess is sitting upright barely. Her eyes are wide, bloodshot. Foam glistens on her lips. She bit her tongue, Sateh murmurs. You see it, the red streak at the edge of her mouth. Her breath comes in short gasps. Begin, Ahmos commands. You kneel beside her and gently press the salt mixture into her pores. First her arms, then under the chin behind her ears, beneath the folds of her breasts. She whimpers, but does not stop you. The mixture hardens quickly in the heat of the room. It seals the rot beneath a crust of minerals and sugar. But that does not stop the smell. The priest lights a second censer, this one with powdered cedar and crushed desert thistle. The smoke is bitter and sharp, almost metallic. Taharet begins to cough. Sateh staggers slightly. Then the priest draws a long reed stylus from his sleeve. With deliberate movements, he pricks the princess's thigh. A drop of dark blood wells up sluggish and thick. He dabs it onto a linen scrap and burns it immediately. Watch the smoke, he says. It curls black at first, then gray, then green. A gasp ripples through the room. The infection is deep, he says gravely. It has reached her bile. Merita moans again, louder this time. Her head falls back. Her chest rises and falls rapidly. You look at her and realize something terrifying. She is dying, and yet no one moves to comfort her. This is not grief. This is protocol. The priest removes another cloth coated with beeswax and rue. He places it over her mouth and nose. She must sleep, he says. She resists weakly. Her limbs twitch, and then stillness. You're not sure if she's breathing. You stare for what feels like minutes. Then her chest rises faintly. She will survive the night, Ahmos declares. But the smell, Sateh whispers. It will worsen. He nods grimly. She must not sweat. Her scent must be sealed. You know the rites. Sateh bows her head. Yes, High Priest. You feel a chill then, though the room is hot with incense and body heat. What rites, you ask, before you can stop yourself? Amos's eyes settle on you. We will coat her in pitch, he says, from scalp to toe. As the dead are coated, the gods cannot smell decay if the scent is buried beneath tar. Your heart pounds. But she's not dead. Not yet, he says. And with that, he turns and leaves robes trailing behind him like shadows on stone. You're left with Sateh Taharet, and a girl who sleeps like a corpse and smells worse than one. And in your gut, you know this has only just begun. The tar comes in earthen jars, 4 of them each sealed with wax and marked with red ink. The symbols are not familiar, not temple script. Something older. You watch as Sateh breaks the seals one by one, her hands unshaking, though her face has turned gray with dread. The stench pours out before you see the contents, thick, dark, cloying. The kind of smell that coats the throat. Even Taharet turns away, coughing into her sleeve. This is madness, she whispers. But no one stops Sateh. She sets the jars around the princess's bed and begins warming small scoops of pitch over a brazier. The heat makes the tar bubble loosen, melt into a black gloss. It hisses when stirred. Princess Meritipta hasn't moved in hours. Her chest still rises and falls in slow, labored rhythm. Her skin is no longer flushed. It's pale now with a faint green undertone around her lips. Her sweat has dried into a salty crust along her collarbone. Her breath smells faintly of copper and frankincense. You and Taharet are tasked with preparing the body. Not a body, Taharet mutters. She's alive. Sateh doesn't answer. She moves like someone rehearsing an old ritual, one so horrible it must be done without thinking. She hands you a bronze scraper. You must remove everything she says. Hair, dirt, oil, from head to toe. No softness, no scent. You obey. What else is there to do? You begin at the scalp. The wig has already been removed. Her real hair is patchy, matted to the skull, caked with resin and dead lice. You scrape gently at first, but the buildup is too thick. You have to press harder. The bronze grinds against her scalp, and flakes of skin come off in sheets like peeling bark from a tree. Meritipta moans. She's still partly awake. You whisper apologies. Her eyebrows are shaved off next. Then the tiny hairs on her arms and legs. You find boils behind her knees, dark blisters at her elbows, white mold under the curve of her breasts. Each discovery makes you want to retch. But you don't stop. Taharet works beside you, scraping behind the ears, cleaning beneath the nails, even removing dried blood from between the princess's toes. There is no modesty here, no dignity, just the slow, terrible work of preparing someone to be sealed inside their own body. Sateh returns with a bowl of thick oil. It smells like camphor and ashes. She rubs it across the skin like a painter priming a canvas. When all is ready, she dips a cloth into the bubbling tar. It drips once, twice, then settles. She applies the first line of pitch down the princess's sternum. The sound is sickening, a hiss, a squelch, and then silence. Meritipta twitches. You said she wouldn't feel it, you whisper. She doesn't, Sateh replies. That's not pain. That's what's left of her resisting. The pitch is applied in layers, across her arms, her thighs, her stomach. Every orifice is sealed. Nostrils, ears, even the folds between her fingers. She'll suffocate, Taharet says, panic rising. No, Sateh murmurs. We leave the mouth open. The gods must hear her breath. By the time they reach her face, you can no longer recognize her. Gone is the golden mask, the painted skin, the perfumes and jewelry. In their place is something dark, glistening, monstrous. She looks embalmed. You expect her to stop breathing at any moment. But somehow, she endures. Her breath rattles through her lips like wind across dry reeds. She will stay like this for 3 days, Sateh says quietly. 3, you echo. She must be sealed long enough for the smell to die, for the rot to halt. If the gods are merciful, they will spare her, and if not, Taharet asks. Sateh doesn't answer. The chamber is cleared of all linens and bowls. The windows are shuttered. The brazier is put out. Only a single oil lamp remains flickering beside the bed like a guardian spirit. That night, you do not sleep. You sit in the outer corridor with Taharet, both of you wrapped in thin shawls. Neither of you speak. There is nothing left to say. Occasionally you hear it. The sound from within the room. Not a scream, not even a groan. Just breath labored, wet. A reminder that something inside is still alive. By dawn, the smell has changed. It's no longer rot, no longer that heavy sweetness of spoiled resin. It's sharp now, bitter. The kind of scent that clings to stone and never quite leaves. You re-enter the chamber. The walls are slick with condensation. The pitch has hardened. Meritipta lies unmoving, her body stiff and blackened like a statue left too long in the sun. Sate places a lotus flower on her chest. White. Fresh. She must be watched, she tells you. Every moment. If the pitch cracks, we reseal it. If she stops breathing, we call the priest. And so begins the vigil of stillness. You and Taharet take shifts. One watches while the other rests. Every hour you lean close to her mouth to listen. Sometimes you hear the faintest sound. Sometimes you're not sure if it's real. On the second night, something changes. You're watching alone when it happens. A sound. Not breath. Not speech. A wet pop. You lean in. The pitch around her lips has bubbled. Just slightly. Then, a whisper. They're still hungry. You freeze. Your candle flickers. You think of the insects, the rot, the things beneath her skin. You back away. But you know, the gods may not be answering. Something else is. And now it speaks through her. You do not tell Sate what the princess whispered. You think perhaps you imagined it. You hope you did. Because if you didn't, if the words "they're still hungry" were real, then it means something is alive beneath the pitch. Something more than her. You pour a fresh circle of natron around the bed. That's what the healers in the outer districts do when their dead twitch too long after passing. It keeps the soul from wandering, or so they say. You don't know if it works, but it gives you something to do. Something other than watching her chest rise and fall slower now, so faint, you start holding your own breath just to hear it. Sate doesn't notice your unease. She's too busy consulting with the embalming scribes now drawing up a contingency rite, in case the gods do not grant favor. You mean if she dies? Taheret asked earlier. No, Sate had said. If she becomes something worse. Worse. You're beginning to understand what she means. By mid-morning of the second day, the pitch on Meritipta's face begins to blister. It shouldn't. It was supposed to harden completely, seal her. But now the corner of her mouth bubbles again, just slightly. And from beneath it, a tiny black speck crawls out. It's not a lice. You've seen plenty of those. This is something else. It shimmers wet and strange before burrowing back into the tar. You stagger backward. Your skin crawls. Your breath catches in your throat. But you say nothing. You don't know what to say. When Taheret returns for her shift, you only tell her to keep the candle close and not fall asleep. You lie and say it's just the scent. But that night, while you lie in your own chamber, the scent follows you. It lives in your nose, in your sheets, in your dreams. You wake up just before dawn to the sound of humming. Soft, distant, familiar. You stumble back to the princess's chamber. The door is ajar. You never leave it ajar. Inside, the oil lamp has burned low. Shadows dance wildly across the walls. And there she is, still sealed, still motionless, yet somehow singing. It comes from her mouth, you think. But her lips don't move. It's like the pitch is breathing. You rush to the bed and listen. The tune is ancient, not one sung in temples, something older. A lullaby, maybe, but distorted, stretched into something eerie. She hasn't moved, Taharet says from the corner. You jump. You didn't see her there. She's sitting on the floor, hugging her knees. She's been like this for hours, she says. But the sound started an hour ago. I didn't want to wake you. You kneel slowly beside the bed. Press your ear to the sealed mouth. The pitch vibrates. You realize the voice isn't hers. It's deeper, male, and layered like many voices woven into one. You don't understand the words. You don't want to. You stagger back. Sateh arrives moments later. The smell must have reached her chamber. It's different now, less like death, more like something fermented, alive. She leans over the princess and touches the pitch. Her finger comes away with a thin thread of black liquid. Not good, she mutters. No, you say. It's moving inside. Sateh doesn't react. Not the way you expect. Instead, she reaches into a satchel and pulls out a small obsidian blade, not for healing, but for burial rites. She must be bled. Taharet stands, but she's sealed. We'll cut a vent, Sateh says. Is that safe, you ask? No, she says, but neither is leaving her like this. You help prepare the tools, linen bandages, alabaster bowl, a fresh vial of myrrh. Sateh chooses the inside of the thigh, soft flesh, likely unspoiled, hidden from the pitch's thickest layers. She makes the incision cleanly. The black tar peels back like burnt skin. And then the smell. You reel backward. This is not rot, not blood. It is sour, acidic, and full of iron, like a snake pit doused in vinegar. The blood that flows isn't red. It's dark, almost blue, thick and pulsing like sap from a diseased tree. Sateh collects it in the bowl, but then something shifts. The blood doesn't pool. It writhes. Worm-like strands surface and twist inside the bowl. Taharet screams. You nearly dropped the oil lamp. Sateh says nothing. She places a lid on the bowl and seals it with wax. We must send this to the priest. You stare at the wound. It doesn't clot. It weeps endlessly. Slowly. The edges already turning black. She's decaying, you say. Sateh looks at you gravely. No, she says. She's transforming. You cannot speak. You cannot move. Because you know she's right. That night, you stay with Taharet. You light 6 oil lamps and place them in a circle around your mat. You burn frankincense and wear your amulets. Still, you hear her. From across the corridor. From behind the stone. From inside your head. The whisper returns. They're still hungry. The priest comes at dawn. You hear the click of his staff before you see him. That sound always precedes him, a tapping that echoes like a heartbeat through the corridors. It's not ceremonial. It's deliberate, like a warning. High Priest Amos enters with 2 attendants in bone-white linen, their faces veiled. None of them speak as they pass you in the hallway. The priest holds the sealed bowl of blood in both hands as if it might bite him. It might. Sateh meets him in the chamber. You and Taheret are not invited in this time. You wait outside the sealed door, fingers trembling. The oil lamp in your hands flickers with every heartbeat. From within there are no voices, just silence. And then whispers. Low, drawn out, unnatural. Not a language you recognize. The priest is chanting something, and whatever it is, it makes your skin tighten as if the words themselves are crawling across your back. You glance at Taheret. She looks worse than you've ever seen, her dark circles under her eyes, lips dry and cracked. She clutches the edge of her tunic like she's trying to keep herself from falling apart. She spoke again last night, she whispers. While you were asleep. You look at her sharply. She said my name. Just once. But her mouth didn't move. You swallow hard. You're sure to Taheret nods. I haven't heard my name spoken that way since my father died. She used his voice. You don't respond. What could you possibly say? Inside the chamber something crashes. A shout follows, then silence again. You bolt upright. Taheret grabs your hand. The door creaks open. One of the veiled attendants exits. She's pale, shaken, a spot of blood on her sleeve. Sateh follows behind her, her mouth set in a tight line. The priest is alone with her now, she tells you. He sent everyone else away. You try to look past her into the room, but she closes the door behind her and shakes her head. What happened? Taheret asks. Sateh doesn't answer immediately. She walks you both to the far side of the corridor near the columns painted with blue lotuses and gold reeds. The air smells faintly of cedar, but it does nothing to mask the scent still clinging to your skin. She bit him, Sateh says at last. You blink. What, the priest? She bit his hand. She's unconscious, you say. Not anymore. Sateh holds up her palm, showing you something wrapped in silk. She unfolds it. Inside is a tooth. Human, small, blackened at the root. He pulled it out himself, she explains. Said she left it in his skin. You stare at the tooth. Something about it is wrong. It's too smooth, too sharp, almost hollow. Taheret steps back. She didn't have missing teeth, she says. You nod slowly. I've cleaned her mouth every night. There were no gaps. Then where did this come from? Sateh murmurs. No one answers. An hour passes. The priest finally emerges. He looks older. His robe is soaked at the wrist. His face is paler than you've ever seen it. She is beyond our rights, he says flatly. What does that mean? Sateh asks. She cannot be cleansed by gods or fire. Taheret stiffens. Then what do we do? The priest looks at her, then at you. We unseal the lineage. You frown. What lineage? He exhales through his nose, slow and bitter. There are things you do not know about Meritptah's blood. Things hidden even from the scribes. He beckons you both to follow. You leave Sateh behind to watch the sealed chamber. The priest leads you down a long corridor you've never entered before. Past the room of offerings. Past the chamber of moonrites. All the way to the very base of the palace, a place where even the walls feel colder, less painted, less decorated. You arrive at a stone door sealed with 5 clay imprints. He lifts his hand. One by one, the prints glow faintly as he passes his fingers over them. Then the door opens. Inside is a single scroll, wrapped in golden cord, placed on a stone pedestal. The priest picks it up and lays it out on a low slab. You and Taheret lean in. The ink is old, faded, but the name is clear. Not Meritptah, Nafratiri. You stare. This isn't the princess's lineage, Taheret whispers. It's her sister's. The priest shakes his head. They were never sisters, he says. They are one. You stare at him in disbelief. What do you mean? They were twins, he explains. But the priests split them at birth. One to rule, one to be hidden. A curse runs through their blood. One body carries it. The other contains it. Your heart begins to pound. Then who is Meritptah? She is both, the priest says. They were meant to be kept apart, but their bond is too strong. Nafratiri was cast out, yes, but the sickness never left the palace. It only waited. You remember the look Nafratiri gave her sister, the bitterness, the familiarity, the whispered insults. They're connected, Taheret murmurs. More than that, the priest replies. They are incomplete without each other. You don't understand everything, but you do understand this Meritptah is changing, and Nafratiri may be the only one who knows why. You return from the forbidden archive just after the noon bell, the sun casting a cruel white light across the sandstone floor. It feels wrong to be out in daylight. After all you've seen, daylight seems too clean for this secret. The priest says nothing as he seals the door behind you, his fingers trembling only once when he presses the final clay seal into place. No one else in the palace knows the truth. Not the guards, not the scribes, not even Pharaoh himself, whose mind has grown as soft and fragile as damp papyrus in his final days. Only the three of you know that Meritptah and Nafratiri are not simply rivals or half-sisters or even political opposites. They are one soul torn into two vessels, one to rule, one to rot. And now the rot is spreading. You don't ask why this curse was never spoken of before. You already know the answer. Shame. To be born with royal blood twisted by a sacred flaw that's something even the gods might pretend not to see. It's easier to hide it behind incense and painted eyes. Easier to call it madness, or devotion, or beauty. Easier to perfume the decay. But there is no perfume strong enough now. When you return to the princess's chamber, Sate meets your eyes and immediately shakes her head. She's changed again, she says quietly. You push open the door. The pitch is cracking. Long, jagged lines run across her shoulders and neck, exposing glimpses of the skin beneath, no longer pale but dark and veined, pulsing with something alive, something that moves. You feel your stomach tighten. She opened her eyes 3 times, Sate says. But not all the way. Just a sliver. Just enough to let the light in. You step closer. The oil lamp sputters beside her. You see her chest rising faster now, her lips twitching. She's not asleep, Taheret says. No, you reply. She's listening, Sate whispers. To what? To the part of her that's still out there, you say. Nafratiri. The priest enters behind you, voice calm but grim. She must be brought here. Taheret gasps. What Nomba Nafratiri is dangerous. So is Meritptah, the priest replies. More now than ever. She'll never come, you say. She hates her. She'll come, he answers, because she hates what she's becoming more. It takes 3 hours to find her. Not in the gardens where she's often seen. Not in the inner halls where gossip flows thicker than wine. But in the oldest place in the palace, the wet chamber where linens are boiled and scraped and where ancient waters run through underground drains to the Nile. You find her sitting on a stone bench barefoot, surrounded by steam. She doesn't look surprised when you arrive. Took you long enough, Nefertiti says, voice low like the gurgle of distant water. I was beginning to think you'd let her rot on her own. We know what you are, the priest says. She laughs short and bitter. I was hoping you'd finally admit it. You carry the cure, he says. I carry the other half, she corrects. Not the cure. Never that. Taharet steps forward. Then why are you here? Nefertiti stands. She's taller than Meritptah, paler, but her eyes, those same strange green-gold irises, are identical. She's calling me, she says simply. I feel her. Always have. You shiver. You know what the curse is, the priest says. I do. Then tell us, Nefertiti's smile fades. It's not a disease, she says. It's a hunger. You exchange a glance with Taharet. Hunger for what you ask. For closeness, she says. For touch. For reunion. They separated us, thinking it would keep the sickness at bay. But that only made it worse. We are mirrors. You can't polish one and leave the other to gather dust. She's not just sick, Taharet murmurs. She's incomplete. Nefertiti nods. Every festering sore, every breath of rot, that's the part of her trying to remember me, trying to call me back. And what happens if you return, you ask? She looks at you, no smile now. Then she either becomes whole, or she devours me. The priest steps closer. If we do nothing, the sickness will spread beyond her. It already whispers, already takes voices. We must try. Nefertiti walks past him. I'm not afraid, she says. But if I die in that room, bury me far from her. You don't argue. You lead her back through the halls. The palace seems to shrink around her as she walks. Guards lower their eyes. Servants press themselves against the walls, as if they can smell it, the thing inside her. The same thing inside Meritptah. When you reach the door, Sate steps aside without a word. Nefertiti pauses, then says quietly, no flames, no oil, no prayers. You extinguish the lamps. She enters alone. The door closes behind her. You listen. At first nothing, then footsteps, then a voice, Nefertiti's, soft and trembling. Sister, she says, I'm here. And then from within the tar, so am I. The door is thick, but the stone speaks. You press your ear against it and listen not just with your hearing, but with something deeper. Inside the room, the air feels dense, even from this distance. And then, a sound begins to leak through. It's not screaming, not words. It's breathing, but not one breath. Two, intertwined. Inhale and exhale in perfect opposition, as if the two of them, Meritptah and Nefertiti, are no longer separate. Sate is sitting cross-legged beside you, eyes closed. Her lips move silently, though you're not sure if she's praying or reciting the ritual phrases of embalming long forgotten by even the most devout temple workers. Taheret doesn't speak. She's been standing in the same spot for nearly a full hour, her eyes fixed on the bottom seam of the door, watching for the shadow of movement beneath it. You don't know how long Nefertiri has been inside. You lost track of time. Then something strikes the door, a single thud. You flinch. Taheret grabs your hand without looking. Sate's lips stop moving. Then silence again. The priest approaches from down the corridor. He says nothing, but his eyes flick from the door to the seal marks above it. You realize he's reading them for cracks. Then another thud, and this time a voice. Faint, distant, but clear. She's still inside, Nefertiri says. The priest leans in. Are you harmed? A pause. No, Nefertiri replies. Not yet. Do you need assistance? No. Another pause. But I need to show you something. The door opens before you even realize the priest has touched it. The air that rushes out is heavy and wet, like the breath of a cave. You nearly gag. It's worse than before. It smells of old honey, rotting fruit, spoiled oil, and something fleshy. Something alive but wrong. Inside, Nefertiri stands beside the bed. She is untouched, her skin unbroken. But her eyes, they are no longer hers. They're wider now, dilated, and beneath them her face is glistening, not with sweat, but with sap. A sticky amber substance trailing down her cheek from the corner of her right eye. She looks at the priest. At all of you. She spoke to me, Nefertiri says. The part of her that was never allowed to be born. You step forward. Is she awake? Nefertiri shakes her head. Not fully, but she's close. She remembers me. She wants me to stay. She needs me to stay. Taheret frowns. Then stay. Nefertiri's lip twitches, but she's hungry. You glance at the bed. The pitch is nearly all gone. It's sloughed away in wet curls, leaving behind glistening flesh, dark, pocked, webbed with greenish-blue veins. The body no longer resembles Meretipta. It resembles something else. A larva, a chrysalis, a cocoon that pulses with breath. She's becoming something the priest says quietly. Yes, Nefertiri replies, and I think I'm what she needs to complete it. Sate steps forward. That's not what the ritual called for. Nefertiri turns, because the ritual was a lie, a patch, a perfume soaked into rot. The priest does not deny it. She's not meant to be healed, Nefertiri says. She's meant to be released. You ask what that means. Nefertiri walks to the head of the bed. She brushes the oily hair from her sister's swollen face and leans down close to her ear. She has been sealed, scraped, buried in pitch. But none of it worked. She lifts one of Meretepta's hands. It twitches at her touch. She was never meant to be clean, Nefertiri whispers. She lifts the princess's fingers to her lips and bites. You scream. The priest rushes forward, but Nefertiri doesn't flinch. The blood that spills from Meretepta's finger is not red. It is white, milky, viscous, like the sap that ran from Nefertiri's own eye. You realize it now. This is not an infection. This is not a curse. This is metamorphosis. She's making me like her, Nefertiri says calmly, and you see the truth. Where Nefertiri bit her lips have turned pale. The skin along her jaw is stretching, thinning. Her fingernails have softened, bending like wax in heat. She's drawing me in, Nefertiri says. And suddenly, Meretipta opens her mouth. Not all the way, just enough. From within a single note escapes. Not a word. Not a sound of pain. A hum. Low, resonant, ancient. The priest drops to his knees. It's the hymn of the deep womb, he whispers. A birthing song, older than any tomb. Taharet gasps. You stagger back. The room darkens, though the lamps are still lit. Sate begins to sob, and Nefertiri smiles. She's not dying, she says. She's hatching. It is no longer a question of if she will become something else. It is when. By the time you return to the chamber the next evening, the door has been sealed with thick layers of hardened resin. Not by the priests. By Nefertiri herself. She requested it, demanded it, as if she no longer wants to be disturbed. The oil lamps flicker low now, permanently dimmed. She says the light stings, Taharet murmurs beside you, staring into the cracks between the resin and the stone frame. It makes her skin tighten. Skin, you're not sure that's what it is anymore. From beneath the door, a new smell leaks out. Gone is the sourness of sweat and rot. It's something smoother now, sweeter even, like warm almond oil thickened with copper. It no longer repulses you. That's the worst part. It almost invites you. Sate hasn't slept in days. She spends her hours crushing old herbs and mixing powders in silence, but she no longer dares enter the chamber. I've served the line of pharaohs for 53 years, she says. I've held infants whose names are carved into temples. I've swabbed the mouths of the dead. But this, she shakes her head. It is not holy. Still, none of you flee. None of you ask to leave the palace. It's as if the air itself keeps you anchored. Or the humming, or the dreams. Because now you're dreaming of her, too. Last night she spoke your name, not aloud, not in the chamber, but from inside your mind. She was standing by the Nile naked, but covered in black resin that dripped from her shoulders like sap. Her eyes were closed, but her mouth was moving. It's clean inside me, she whispered. You won't need to scrub anymore. You woke up crying. Tonight the priest calls a private gathering. Just the four of you himself, you Taharet and Sate, beneath the western portico, where old records were once burned after wars. She is no longer either daughter, the priest says. Not Meretipta, not Nefertiri. She's both, you whisper. He nods. And neither. Taharet's voice trembles. Then what is she? The priest looks at you all in turn. A vessel, he says, for something ancient. He unrolls a parchment you've never seen before. It's stiff, brittle, and drawn in pigment that glimmers slightly in the firelight. On it, a figure is sketched broad-shouldered with 6 arms and 2 mouths, one in the face, one in the stomach. But the eyes, they are unmistakable. You've seen them. You said this was just a royal curse, Sate says. A family infection. I lied, the priest replies. It was never just blood. It was a preparation, a breeding. Someone long ago wanted to grow something inside this family line. And now, he points to the figure. She's ready. The word grow sends a ripple down your spine. You think of all the rituals, all the perfumes, the oils, the scraping, the sealing. It was never about keeping her pure. It was about keeping her contained. And now she isn't. The resin door begins to crack just after midnight. You hear it soft at first, like wood splitting in heat, then sharper, splintering down the center. The smell grows stronger. The air thickens, and the humming, the awful, beautiful humming returns. You reach for the handle. It crumbles in your hand. Inside the chamber there is no light. Only the sound of dripping. You step inside with Taheret behind you, both of you holding small bronze blades given by the priest. You don't know what they're for. You only know you feel better with it in your hand. In the corner, something moves. You lift your lamp. It is Nafratiri, but she's different. Her limbs are longer now. Her hair is gone. Her eyes, those bright green-gold eyes, are clouded with milky haze. She blinks slowly, like something just waking from a long sleep. She's almost ready, she says. Where is she? You whisper. Nafratiri tilts her head toward the bed. You move forward. What lies there is not a person. It is a shape, a husk. The pitch, the flesh, the gauze, it has all been shed. Curled around the edge of the bed is a thick membrane like the skin of a snake left behind after molting. And inside it is emptiness. She's not here, Taheret gasps. Nafratiri smiles, though her teeth now look soft, like wax, like something beginning to melt. She's everywhere now. You stagger back, because suddenly the scent is not just in the room. It's on your skin, in your mouth, in your blood. She's not becoming, Nafratiri says. She's already become. You leave the chamber in silence. No one speaks, not even Taheret, who trembles beside you with each step like her bones no longer trust her muscles to hold them. You press a hand to your chest. The scent is still there, faint but lingering like the ghost of incense clinging to funeral linens. But it's not just on your skin anymore. It's inside you. You can feel it blooming with each breath like a sickness you never noticed creeping into your blood. Sateh meets you in the outer hall, her eyes bloodshot and sunken. She's holding a satchel filled with crushed herbs and black salt, but she doesn't ask what you saw. She already knows. The scent followed you, she whispers. You nod. She's gone. Her body is gone. She's not gone, Sateh replies. You've just stopped needing to see her. She hands you a cloth soaked in vinegar and mint, and you press it to your face, hoping to flush the scent out of your nose. It doesn't work. You turn to the priest who stands in the shadows near the brazier, staring down at a set of broken clay jars. She's not confined to that chamber anymore, he says. We sealed her body in pitch, but the rest of her, it's dispersed. Dispersed where Taheret asks. The priest lifts his eyes. Through us. And suddenly it all makes sense. The humming in your dreams. The sap in Nafratiri's eyes. The ache in your limbs. The way your fingertips have begun to flake, subtle at first, like the aftermath of too much handling of natron, but now constant. small white scales drifting from your skin. She's growing in us, you whisper. The priest says nothing. You know he agrees. Later that night, you return to your chamber. It no longer feels like yours. The walls feel tighter, the air warmer. The thin cotton cloths meant to keep out desert insects are damp to the touch. You undress slowly, watching the way your shadow moves against the wall. It doesn't match you anymore. Your shadow sways when you do not. It flickers even when no light moves. In the basin, you wash your hands with wine and ashes, trying to scrub away the flaking skin. It only spreads. Behind you, a sound. You turn, but nothing's there, except the smell. It's stronger again. Your knees buckle. You grip the edge of the basin, and something crawls up the back of your throat. Not a cough, not vomit. Just a feeling. Like silk being drawn up through your lungs. Soft, wrong. You gag. You clutch at your ribs. And then, it's gone. You collapse to the floor. When you wake, it's morning, and you are no longer alone. In the corner of your room stands a figure. She is clothed in nothing but a thin veil of smoke. Her skin glistens like oil. Her hair is braided with small bones and threads of gold. You recognize her face. It is almost Meripta, almost Nafratiri, but not quite either. She smiles. Her mouth does not move. But you hear her anyway. You know how to cleanse me, she whispers. You've done it all your life. With salt, with water, with shame. You shake your head. You were rotting. I was changing. You smelled like death. I was shedding the living. She steps closer. The scent fills the room. You cannot breathe without breathing her in. You used oils to hide me, pitch to silence me, razors to carve me away. But I am still here. You crawl backward, but your limbs betray you. You fall against the bed. She kneels beside you. Her fingers do not touch your skin, but you feel her all the same. You cannot clean what was never dirty, she says. You cannot hide what was meant to be seen. You close your eyes. When you open them again, she's gone. But the scent remains, and so does something else. You glance down. Across your thighs, the skin has changed. Pale at first, but laced with darkened veins. Your nails are beginning to soften. Your sweat no longer smells of fear, but something sweeter. The transformation has begun. You are her now. Not entirely. Not yet. But you're no longer only yourself. Outside the palace is quiet. Too quiet. You find Sateh collapsed in the corridor, her mouth stained with yellow resin. Her body is still warm, but she no longer breathes. Taheret is found 2 hours later, curled in the laundry chamber, humming to herself with her eyes rolled back in her head. The priest is gone. Only one sentence is found in the ashes of his scrollwork. She is not to be burned. The palace is emptying. Not of bodies, but of people. Those who remain are no longer themselves. You see them in the garden courts, swaying beneath the palms, rubbing scented oils into their own arms with trembling hands. They mutter to themselves in low tones in languages older than Egyptian, older than memory. Their eyes have gone soft around the edges, as if the whites are bruising from the inside. And their scent. That impossible scent. It floats everywhere now, clinging to limestone, to water jugs, to the bodies of cats curled beneath the offering altars. Sweet, coppery, faintly musky. Not quite putrid, but not clean. Never clean. You walk through the palace barefoot. No one stops you. There are no more guards at the gates, no more cooks in the kitchens. Only shadows, long and slow and watching. Your skin no longer flakes. It stretches now, warms from within. The soft sheen on your thighs never fades. You haven't bathed in 3 days, and yet you do not smell of sweat or filth. You smell of her. There are more of you. At first you thought you were alone in your change, but then you found the others, in the shadowed hallways, in the corners of forgotten rooms. Young, old, servants, a scribe, even one of Pharaoh's junior priests, all touched, all whispering the same things in their sleep. She is blooming. She is perfect. She has always been. You ask no one in particular what she is now. A goddess, a plague. But then you remember what Nefertiti said. She's not becoming. She's become. You are only the husks now, the shells, the clay vessels into which her scent has poured. Sometimes in your sleep you dream of cleansing her again. You stand before her with warm water bronze razors, bowls of goose fat and myrrh. You press salt into the soft folds beneath her arms, brush honey through her brittle hair. You strip her of filth, scabs, lice, and she watches you not with gratitude but with hunger. And as you wipe the rot from her mouth, she says, "That was never rot. That was my birth." You wake soaked in sweat, except it's not sweat. It's sap. Sticky. Sweet. Clear as resin drawn from wounded trees. You wipe it from your legs and arms and find your skin underneath smooth and dark, as if your body is being lacquered from the inside out. You no longer bother to clean it away. In the old linen storage room, Taharet lies in a nest of white cloths. She doesn't speak, only hums. Her belly has grown. You don't ask why. She doesn't eat, doesn't drink. You suspect she is being fed another way now. Sometimes her belly pulses softly beneath the sheets, and you look away. She was the youngest of you. She will be the first to complete the change. Sate's body was burned, but it did not stay gone. You saw it last night in the reflection of the water basin, her mouth opening, her skin slick with golden sap, her whisper behind your ear. I should have let the rot in sooner. You scream, but no sound leaves your lips. Even your voice has softened. At dusk you walk through the sacred garden. The flowers do not bloom anymore. Instead, they open. Slowly, cautiously. You lean over a lotus and see something glistening at its center, a single drop of yellow resin. You smell it. You taste it. And in that moment, you remember, not as yourself, not as her servant, but as her. You remember the first itch beneath the skin, the scrape of a bronze blade too dull to remove the layers fast enough. You remember begging the gods for a cleansing and receiving silence. You remember the first time someone dared to say it aloud. You smell wrong, and how that smell grew, and how beneath it something opened. A truth, a hunger, a divinity. You fall to your knees. You press your hands into the dirt, and feel it throb beneath your skin. She is in the walls. She is in the garden. She is in you. And now she is ready to speak. That night, all across the palace, the humming begins again. Not from one voice, from dozens, maybe hundreds. Soft at first, then louder, rising like a tide. It pulses in waves, rippling through the walls, vibrating the stones. In your chamber you rise without thinking. You do not dress. You do not light a lamp. You walk barefoot, humming. Your mouth is not moving, and still the sound pours from your throat. When you reach the central chamber, the place where she first lay in pitch, you are not surprised to find it empty. There is no body, no shell, only a thick pool of golden black sap in the center of the stone floor. You kneel beside it. Your reflection stares back, not as you are, but as you were. Before her. You lower your hand into the sap. It is warm. It does not stick. It accepts. From the shadows, others come. Eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Bellies swollen. Skin gleaming. The priest is among them. He says nothing. But you understand him now. You understand all of it now, because the transformation is complete, and the scent was never decay. It was rebirth. You do not remember falling asleep. You only remember joining. When you wake, if it can still be called waking, you are lying on cool stone in the middle of the old cleansing chamber. The pitch-stained walls no longer smell of resin and oil. They smell of her. The scent is lighter now, not sickly or suffocating. It dances in the air like incense offered to a laughing god. You inhale, and for the first time your lungs do not recoil. They welcome it. You sit up slowly. Around you, others lie in perfect stillness. All of them are breathing in rhythm. You feel it before you hear it. A pulse. Not your heart. Not your blood. Something deeper. Something shared. She is inside you now. Not as a voice, not anymore. She doesn't whisper in your mind. She thinks through you. You understand this without needing to understand it. You are one of many now, and yet you feel no fear, because there is no longer anything left in you that belongs only to you. The others rise, Taheret among them. Her eyes are glowing faintly gold at the center green at the edge. She is not smiling, but her face is soft, serene. The priest stands as well. His robes are soaked with sap, his mouth sealed with golden resin. He hums without opening his lips. One by one, everyone begins to move toward the central court. You do not need to speak. You all know where to go. The knowledge blooms in you like rot in warm cloth, like honey thickening under heat. She is ready to gather, and so you gather. In the court of offerings, beneath the great columns painted with stars and falcons, you kneel in a perfect circle around the basin once used to bathe the feet of Pharaoh. Now it is filled with her, the sap, the resin, the womb's slick fluid that poured from her final transformation. You do not look away. You do not blink. She rises from it, not physically, but through all of you. Her presence flows from your eyes, your pores, your tongues. You feel your throat open wider than it should. Your fingers stretch joints, softening skin, slickening. You are singing. You did not choose to sing, but your mouth sings nonetheless. A language that has never been written, a song of mold and milk and blood. In your vision, the walls of the palace melt away. You see the city of Thebes beneath a shroud of dusk. You see mothers at the river rinsing their children's hair, not knowing that the water has begun to smell. You see scribes in the temples lighting censers, frowning as the smoke changes color. You see rats beneath the grain stores licking drops of sweet black ooze from the floor. She is spreading, not fast, not loud, but certain, like perfume clinging to a corpse, like sickness hidden beneath silk, like divinity seated in filth. Inside your mind you feel her smile, and for a moment, only a moment, you remember what you used to be. The girl who feared lice, who scrubbed under another woman's arms, who cut strips of linen for menstrual days and prayed not to make her mistress bleed. You remember shame. It seems silly now. How hard you tried to make her smell like flowers. How you believed that rot could be erased with rose oil. She never needed your cleaning. She only needed your closeness. And now she has it. You reach your hand into the basin. The resin climbs your arm like it's alive. And it is. You are not afraid. You are no longer anything separate. You are host. And through you she is now in every corner of the palace, in the sweat of every servant still unaware, in the ink of every record book once stamped with her seal, in the folds of every linen garment ever laid upon her skin. She was the disease. She is now the body. And you are the scent she left behind. A scent that no cleansing can erase. A scent that no God can deny. They say it takes 3 days for rot to become permanent. That once the flesh changes, scent truly changes, it can never return. Today marks the 3rd day. No messages have left the palace. No birds have flown from the towers. No servants have crossed the threshold. No fresh water has been drawn from the Nile's banks. The outer guards still stand, motionless eyes, vacant lips, smiling faintly. But they do not stop you when you pass, because you are no longer something to be guarded against. You are within them. The transformation is complete. Not just within your body, though that too is beyond recognition now. Your skin is smooth, dark as burnished pitch, but soft as fresh wax. The hair that once covered your arms has disappeared. You no longer sweat. You no longer bleed. You no longer hunger for food or thirst for drink. Your only hunger now is for closeness. You feel her inside your lungs, nestled in the folds of breath like incense curling through hollow reeds. Your bones are not bones. They are vessels. Stiff, yes, but designed to carry her weight, her scent. Sometimes you move through the empty halls and imagine the days before. The laughter of the other girls, the snapping of sandals on polished stone, the bark of a palace dog chasing flies, the constant cloying perfume of boiled oils and spoiling honey. Back then you cleaned the princess with trembling hands. Now you are the princess, or something more. A fragment, a bloom, a root from her that took hold and flowered. Taharet no longer speaks. She hums now endlessly curled in the sacred chamber with her arms cradling her swollen belly. No one has touched her in weeks. No man has entered. No seed was planted. And yet something grows. A new daughter, not born of blood, Born of scent, Sate's voice echoes through the halls in snatches. Prayers from a religion that no longer exists. She cleans the floor on her knees, not with water or natron, but with her hands dragging her fingers through the pitch stains and licking what clings to her skin. She says the palace must shine when she returns in form. Not the spirit that lives within all of you. The body, the new one. You dream of it every night. You see a form rising from the sap, towering, beautiful, fragrant with rot and sweetness. A woman not made of flesh, but of hardened oils and burned incense. Her eyes wide, unblinking. Her breath wet with honey and bile. She does not speak. She does not need to. She is. And you, what are you now? You once had a name. A small name whispered by your mother in the kitchen during stormy nights. You can't recall it now. You try, and what comes instead is her name. Meritptah, but not as it once was. Now it carries weight, moisture, decay, divinity. You whisper it to the walls and they glisten. The inner courtyard has collapsed. Not from neglect, from her. The floor split open yesterday, revealing the black chamber below, where the first daughter was sealed centuries ago. The records were wrong. She was never buried in the tombs. She was hidden beneath the palace. You stood above the crack in the stone and smelled it, the original scent. The first bloom, stronger than pitch, older than the Nile's first flood. That's when you understood the final truth. This palace was never a palace. It was a womb. And you were never a servant. You were meant. You were chosen. Now you lie beneath the last sun, your body slick with golden sap surrounded by the others. Dozens of them. Naked. Gleaming. Breathing in rhythm. Above you the sky darkens not with storm, but with silence. No birds, no wind. Just the soft vibration in your chest. Her hum. And when your eyes close for the last time as anything separate, she speaks not in language but in memory. She shows you how she bloomed in rot. How she hid in the folds of spoiled skin, how she was smeared away, scrubbed raw, perfumed over, and still survived. Now she will no longer hide. She will no longer need perfume. Her scent will be truth. And your final thought is not fear, it is peace. Because now the world will finally smell her as she truly is. And no one will ever clean her again. And now as the palace falls silent beneath a sky that no longer recognizes stars, let yourself fall deeper into stillness. You are not in a story anymore. You are lying safely where you are, your breath slow and soft, surrounded not by sap and shadow, but by warmth and quiet. The scent in the air is not rot, not honey, not resin. It is your own clean, subtle, peaceful, the scent of a room at rest. A world paused. A moment made only for sleep. Let the images drift away now, the long halls, the golden masks, the voices humming in the dark. Let them dissolve like incense into the breeze. You are not in Thebes. You are not in a palace. You are here. Still. Safe. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feel your hands relax. Your spine soften. Your shoulders melt gently into the place beneath you. You do not need to remember the story. You do not need to clean it away. It is finished. She is finished. and now so are you for tonight. So close your eyes, let your mind float, let the silence wrap around you like linen, and sleep.